Okay, so everything kind of dried overnight, and we have both boards attached with a nice piece of leather available here to do the rebacking, and we have two viable labels. Now these need trimming and tidying up a little bit, but what in effect this means is that if I attempt to stamp the title of the book directly onto this leather and then make it up, and I sort of mess it up rather, we have a plan B. I can cover my mistake with these labels. So from a stamping standpoint, I think we're in a reasonably good place. I'll certainly sort of clean this a little bit and trim these more to size, but that's looking good. So the problem I've been trying to wrestle with this morning is this leather has a thickness, although it's very soft, and if I were just to glue this as so, it'd be quite noticeable, this step in effect. I mean, it's about a 16th of an inch, something like that. And on a lot of the other restorations I've done, I haven't really sort of cared too much about that, because the leather's been a lot thinner because it's recycled leather from some original Morocco bindings, whereas this is an offcut. And it's going to be sort of noticeable here, but it'll be particularly noticeable on the labels if I just use these as is. So the question becomes, is there a way in which I can taper these edges so that when this gets glued down, the step is nowhere near as significant? And I've been experimenting with that this morning, and this method is certainly at the amateur end. It does kind of work, but I'm sure there's a whole profession that exists around the pairing of leather. Something I'm not expert in at all. But anyway, I'm going to show you how I've attacked this, and we can sort of see where we take it from there. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So here we are, we're looking at the underside of a piece of the same leather, and as you can see from the structure, there's an awful lot of sort of shagginess, I suppose, hairiness. If you look at it in cross section there, we have this smooth edge, and then it gets increasingly hairy and less dense, I guess, as we get to this outer edge here. So this was how I found was a reasonable way to actually deal with that. And the first thing I'm using here is a piece of coarse sandpaper. But I'm not using this to sand. I'm actually using this to comb, bizarrely. So what I'm going to do is draw. I'm obviously aiming for the edge. Now what this does is it orients all the fibres obviously in the direction that I'm sanding. So they're now all sticking out, as you can see. So now what I'm going to do is take a long bladed piece of scissors and simply get underneath the fibres and trim them off. Like so. And this is going to be an ongoing process that's going to require quite a bit of patience, and if you happen to be short-sighted like I am, that's actually a real advantage too, because you can take off your glasses and really get in close. don't be afraid to go in a little bit, like this. So what that does is it starts to reduce the thickness of the leather towards the edge. So it's simply a matter of just doing that for as long as your patience holds out, taking a break, and then doing some more. That's starting to look quite nice. So you're starting to get to a position where this little corner here would actually lie quite flat. I had a go at this piece earlier on. You can see the effects I'm kind of going for there. So if this were the edge of a label, for example, that would actually, I could glue that down, and it would actually lie quite flush on the leather underneath it. See the difference? So that's kind of what we're aiming for here. So this is going to be quite a bit of work. There's obviously a lot of pairing of leather that I need to do in order to achieve the same thing for all of this length along the book. So I'll see you on the other side.